Let me tell you about the time I stayed one night at the Cecil Hotel by accident. I told the story years ago on here, but it's really far down on my page, so I'm retelling it. So back in 2016, when my husband and I were dating, it was Halloween weekend, and he invited me to go to LA for a League of Legends tournament. So I agreed to go. I had nothing else to do for that Halloween weekend. So he took care of everything, the hotel, and paying for everything. He did send me a photo of the hotel, but looking back now, I see why the website only showed photos of the lobby. And from what we could see in the lobby and the photos on the website, it looked nice. So we drive down there, and as we're pretty much approaching the hotel, I'm like, ooh, because it's downtown LA, and my husband and I are from Northern California, so we don't know much about LA. At the time, I didn't know that downtown LA looked like that. But it was too late, so I just figured, it's fine, whatever. So we go into the hotel, and the lobby looks nice, like how it did on the photos. We get to the front desk, and they were a little odd, but whatever. We get to the front desk, they give us our keys, we get in the elevator to go to our room. Elevator kind of had a weird vibe, and we go to our room, unlock the door, and there's a man in the room. So never in my life or my husband have we ever checked into a hotel, ever, and went into our room and there was somebody already in there that wasn't like the staff. So we're just standing there just in shock, quiet, because with the door open, and the man is okay. So I recently asked my husband about this, and he said that the man was looking in our direction but not looking at us. I remember that he wasn't looking at us at all, but he did not acknowledge us at all. He didn't say anything. He didn't yell. He didn't jump. He didn't do anything, which you would think a loud hotel door opens when you're in your room. You would think you would react. He didn't react at all. He was like packing, and he had a suitcase, but it wasn't like a modern looking suitcase. It was kind of like what you see on TV, like when men have like a briefcase and they just pack like a pair of pants and a shirt and it like folds clothes. And we remember that he wasn't he was like barely dressed, and what he had on was like odd. He was wearing like those old man like stocking sock things. I don't really know how to explain it. But anyways, it feels like we were standing there for a long time and just staring, because we were just totally in shock and we didn't know what to say, because he also didn't say anything. So we just closed the door, turn around, go back to the lobby, and we're like, hey, there's a man in the room. And I still remember the girl's face, and she was looking at me like I was crazy because I told her there was a man in the room. She didn't say anything, and she just went and got the manager. The manager just kind of went on the computer and gave us another room, and she said, you'll be the only ones on the floor, which I thought was weird. Like, why would you tell me that? But maybe she was just saying that to reassure us that no one else would be in the room and we wouldn't have the same thing happen. But I did think it was interesting that they didn't try to like argue with us when we told them that someone was in the room. They didn't say anything. They didn't say anything back at all. They just gave us a new room with no issues, no arguments at all. So we're like, that's weird, but whatever. We go into the room. It's already getting late. We hurry up, get ready, go to the tournament, have a good time. We go to dinner after. We're back at the hotel probably around 11ish or midnight. I don't really remember, but I do know that it was late. So we go to sleep, and the first thing, we're sleeping, and I wake up because I'm hearing tapping on the window, just like tap, 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 over and over. To the point it wakes me up out of my sleep. And I'm still in bed. I didn't wake my husband up, but I'm just staring at the window, awake. And I'm like, what is doing that? We're higher up in the hotel. It's downtown LA, so there's no like trees. So there couldn't be a branch that's tapping. It can't be a person that's tapping. Possibly a bird, but birds aren't really, city type birds aren't really out at nighttime tapping on a window like that. So I thought that was a little weird. And then I can't remember if I went back to sleep and then woke up or if it happened right after. But the next thing that happens in the middle of the night while I'm awake is I hear children running around the hallways. And that really scared me. And I'm sleeping on the bed closest to the door. So I'm just staring at the door thinking, is someone going to come in here? Because one, she told us we were the only people on the floor. Two, it's like probably 2-3 o'clock in the morning. What would children be doing at this hotel? And if they're at this hotel, why would they be up at this hour running around the hallway? And I could tell it was children because I could tell by the weight of the feet. It didn't sound like an adult running. It was children running around the hallways. And I was just up staring at the door for what felt like a while. And then I just was like, what am I going to do? Whatever, like just go to sleep. And when I woke up in the morning, I remembered that I was having weird dreams, but as of now, I can't recall what they were. I can't remember if at the time I remembered the dreams, but I knew that I had weird dreams. Not like, I don't even know if I wanted to call them scary, but they were just weird. I really don't know how to explain it. They were odd. And I told my husband everything that happened while he was asleep and I was up, and about my weird dreams. And he said he had weird dreams too, although he didn't experience anything weird. And my husband is not, at least at the time, he was not someone that believed in the supernatural at all. I very much believe in the supernatural. He did not at all. But so it was surprising that at the hotel, even he had weird dreams and just a weird vibe about being there. So it's the morning time and we're talking about what happened, and we're immediately just like, let's get the hell out of here. Like, this place is weird. Like, we have to go. And I remember we didn't shower. I didn't brush my teeth. That's gross. I'm sorry. But I just threw on my clothes, grabbed my stuff, and I was like, let's get out of here. I don't even care. I just want to go home. This place is freaking weird. So we're on our way back home, and it's Halloween weekend. I don't know if I mentioned that already, but it's Halloween weekend. So it's now Sunday, and my friend texted me and she had asked me, how was my weekend? What did I do? And I told her, I went with my husband to this video game tournament and we stayed at this hotel, but some weird stuff happened. And she asked, which hotel were you at? What's it called? And I told her we stayed at the Cecil Hotel. And she's like, you do know that hotel's haunted, right? There's a whole season of American Horror Story based off of that hotel. And I'm like, no, I didn't know that. Okay, that makes sense. So I'm looking up stuff at that point and I'm seeing how it's like one of the most haunted hotels and all these crazy articles. And I'm like, okay, that explains it. And to add to that, recently, and I posted this on my TikTok a couple of weeks ago, there's a woman on here, I can't remember the creator's name, but she has the ability to take what she calls it as taking a peek at the afterlife, and people request, usually celebrity, for her to take a peek at. And recently she took a peek at a location, and that location was the Cecil Hotel. And I came across that video, and one thing she pointed out was that when she took a peek, she saw children running in the hallways. And I saw that and I immediately was like, okay, I was right then. I wasn't imagining things, and I knew I wasn't imagining things at the time. I'm very sure of myself when stuff like that happens, but it just felt odd to hear children running around. And I didn't want to think that it was something supernatural, but after seeing that creator's video of her saying that she saw children running around at the Cecil Hotel when she took a peek, it totally just confirmed it for me. But yeah, that was the time I accidentally stayed at the Cecil Hotel. My husband and I still talk about it from time to time. And years ago, we were talking about it after. And we were like, was that a ghost about the man in the room? At the time, we didn't think anything of it because we didn't know the history of the hotel and all the other weird stuff hadn't happened yet. But looking back and putting the pieces together, it was weird that he never acknowledged us. People always say ghosts, they never acknowledge you. They're going about their business. And when we told the front desk, they didn't say anything about it. They didn't argue with us about it. And the whole encounter was just weird. And so now we're like, could that have been a ghost? I personally believe that even like when we go to the grocery store and things that we do in our daily lives, we probably have seen ghosts but not realized it. And I think that may have been one of those instances that we just were watching a ghost and didn't even realize it. But yeah, that was my time at the Cecil Hotel. I said I would retell it because it's so far down on my page. Until this day, people come across the part 1 of the video and they ask for the rest of the parts. And I'm like, it's really far down and I don't have enough followers to make a playlist yet. So I said I would retell it once I hit 1,000. So thank you for 1,000. And yeah, that was my time at the Cecil Hotel.
If you're not into really creepy stories about the paranormal, literally just scroll past this video. But if you are, I have a truly scary paranormal story for you. So this happened to me 2 years ago when I went on a birthday trip to Las Vegas. And basically, I really wanted to see this place called the Mob Museum. I was literally fascinated. I was like, I have to see it. and I'm really into forensics, and the organized crime stuff sounded interesting, so I wanted to go. So I go to the mob museum. It is 3 floors. I start at the first floor, I look all around, I go to the second floor, I look all around, and before I get to the 3rd floor, I realize it is 10 minutes until closing, and my mom's like, hey, just meet me downstairs, you go ahead. So I continue up these stairs to the 3rd floor, and when I get up there, I'm the only one there. There's no one up there, which was fine with me. I'm actually thinking at the time, this is awesome, like no one's in my way, I can just make my little round and head out. So when I get up there, I look kind of to the left, and there's a room where there's like a purple, real groovy looking couch, real groovy looking living room setup, and I'm thinking, oh, that looks cool, so I walk in there. Immediately when I walk in there, I just don't feel right. I don't know how to explain it. I don't feel great. Like, I just feel off. It felt like I just suddenly was like, came over with like just this creeped out feeling for some reason, and I didn't know why, because I was just admiring this like real unique looking living room setup they had going on up there. That was until I look over to the right, and I notice that there is a whole wall with a display of very graphic crime scene photos, and that wasn't the problem, okay? Like, I've seen crime scene photos, I've taken classes in forensics and stuff, but these pictures, I've never seen pictures like that displayed like that on a wall, framed with plaques underneath. I was just kind of like, I don't know. I started thinking that was why I felt off initially when I walked in the room. I was like, I don't know. I felt like the way that those people were being displayed was just like not respectful to the deceased. So my intuition was telling me, don't participate in this madness. Like, literally, let's just go. Let's just leave. So despite what my intuition was probably telling me, I'm literally thinking, I don't know, I kept gaslighting myself. I was like, maybe it's because the pictures, and I basically swallow the lump in my throat, and I'm like, no, I'm going into forensics. I have to be able to handle this. So I go up to the wall to look at all these pictures and the like stories of these people. I only looked at a couple that were on the very right side. I read like a couple of them. And then one of the other pictures from like over here somewhere caught my eye because it looked so old. It was like so saturated and so black and white that I was like, this looks like maybe the oldest picture on this wall. So I look at that picture. It's a real graphic crime scene of a man. I cannot say anything else about it on this app. So I go up to this picture, I'm looking at it, and at some point I go to read the plaque. So I move my eyes down from the photo, and as soon as I'm not even joking, as soon as I start reading this guy's name, dude, bro, as I'm reading his name, feel an energy rise behind me. Like, it felt like a tall person was like standing behind me or something, and I don't know how to explain why I felt like this specifically, but it felt like something was like hovering over me. Like, I don't know how to explain. I mean, it was just horrifying. It felt like something was like looking down at me, and I immediately feel like frozen. Like, the hairs on the back of my neck are standing up. I have chills up and down my spine. I am not good. And I start booking it out of that room, and I'm surprised I didn't literally full sprint jump down those freaking stairs, but something kept telling me like, don't run or I'm gonna give off like more fear, more energy of fear. I was fully doused in fear. It probably would have made no difference, but I get down to the 1st floor. So I finally get down on the 1st floor, and I have to go down this entire corridor, like this entire hallway, and it's kind of a short hallway, and then you have to turn right to get to the exit and entrance of the museum. But when I tell you this felt like the longest hallway in the world, I'm telling you it felt like the longest hallway in the world. So I start speed walking down the hallway, and suddenly this energy that felt like was following me felt like it was literally standing in mine. It felt like something was standing in my energy. Like, I came over with somehow even more fear than I was already feeling, and start full on sprinting, about nearly falling over, like flying down these hallways. I'm literally just like flying towards the exit. And I get up to my mom, and she's like, oh my God, are you okay? I was literally like, thank God that's over. And then I get home, and some weird happened at my house. Some weird stuff happened at my house. And mind you, I've had paranormal experiences before. I have had things whisper in my ear. I have had weird experiences, but nothing made me scared like this. Nothing in my life. And I've been through cancer and like a lot of other things, and this truly is the scariest thing that's ever happened to me. But if you want a part 2, let me know.
I'm going to tell you guys about the most haunted, psychotic experience I ever had with the paranormal while I drink my coffee. When I first got a divorce, I moved into this house with this girl that I grew up going to middle school with. That's a story for another time, horrible roommate experience. However, we moved into this little yellow old house. It was cute though. Hold on, I'm actually gonna try to find a picture of the house real quick and then I'll show it to you. So I said it was cute, it's not that cute. But it felt so freeing because it was the first time that I was living on my own ever in my entire life with a roommate, but you know, after divorce. So I have 2 kids. Eventually these people moved out and it was just myself and my 2 daughters living in this house. I started to notice that my youngest, she was like 3 at the time, that she was wanting to spend a lot of time by herself alone in her bedroom, which is not like her at all in general. She's a very Velcro child, always has been, but she wanted to spend alone time in her room. I would kind of like let her be in there, and I started to notice that she was shutting the door. Once I started to notice that she was doing that, I started to go over and listen through the door, and I noticed that she was talking to herself. I was like, okay, I mean, normal. She's 3. She's talking to herself. But then she started talking what it seems like to another person, and I thought, okay, well, also quite normal. She's 3. She probably has some sort of like imagination play going on. So I didn't think too much of it, but I did start opening the door and saying, hey baby, like we got to keep the door open, and she would get upset. She'd get pretty angry and annoyed, and she wanted to keep the door shut, and she started to say that her friend didn't want to have the door open, that her friend wanted to have the door shut while they played. So I said, okay, I understand, baby, but where you have to keep the door open for safety purposes. I started to just be a little bit curious about this friend that she had and this imagination that she was experiencing. When she went to sleep, I guess like at some point around that time, I started to ask her, so like what kind of games do you and this friend play? Like what's this friend's name? She told me this friend's name is Penelope. And in the room, they had these sliding closet doors. And she goes, yeah, her name's Penelope. She lives in the closet. I said, okay. She said, she's a little girl like me, mommy, and she doesn't like you very much. I was interested about that. It's like, why does my daughter have a imaginary friend who doesn't like me? Like, what could this mean psychologically, right? So I was like, okay, well, why doesn't she like me? She goes, well, she says that you're not a good mommy, that you're a mean mommy. And I said, okay. She said, well, her mommy died. She's 3. We didn't have any death in the family. We don't have conversations about death. Like, nothing. Like, we don't have death at that point. She was like, yeah, well, her mommy died and they lived here. But at that point, I was like, that's a little bit weird. But I still was thinking, this is probably an imaginary friend situation. I probably need to just try to figure out why she's created this storyline. I don't know how she could have possibly created this storyline. I noticed that this pattern of her wanting to spend time in her room and be alone, like that kind of just got stronger and stronger. She always wanted to play with Penelope. She started to kind of be really insistent that she got to shut the door while she was in the bedroom. Her defiance toward me got very extreme during this time. So I was just kind of curious about it. Well, one night they were gone. They were at their dad's house. And I, at this time in their life, I used to sleep in their room when they were gone. I know that's kind of weird. This is getting too long. I'll tell you the rest of the story in part 2. Okay, this is the second part of the story of the most psychotic paranormal experience I've ever had in my life. I was saying that when my daughters would go to their dad's house, the first few years, probably 2 to 3 years of the divorce, I would sleep in their bedroom because I just couldn't stand being apart from them. One night I'm laying in their bed and I'm on the phone with a friend, and all of a sudden I feel this very strong dark presence, and I could feel it like physically on my body. It felt like my body was being pushed against the bed, and I got so quiet, like so quiet, because I couldn't even talk. I was on the phone, and on the other side of the phone, the friend that I'm speaking to, I have not said anything to them yet. Okay, on my life, I have not said anything to them about what is happening. I just am experiencing this in my bed, and they go, Mackenzie, you need to get out of the room that you're in right now. And I was like, I can't move. And they said, put me on speaker. And I was like, I can't move. I was just laying there saying, I can't move. I can't move. And they were like, you need to stand up and tell it to get out of your house. And all of a sudden, I had this feeling like I could move, like I had the strength to do it. And I stood up and I said, in the name of Jesus, get out of my house and never return. I am protected. My children are protected. Leave. And I felt this off my body and out of the room. Kid you not, my daughter never spoke a word about this little girl Penelope ever again after that moment. This was an everyday occurrence. My daughter would want to play with her, want to talk about her, would tell me all of the time that she didn't like me, and all of a sudden, not after this moment, not one word ever again. This is not the only paranormal experience I had in this house. I had so many more experiences, but not with that entity and not in that way. My daughter has never spoken about it ever again.
Okay, so I'm just gonna come right out and say it. The creepiest thing ever, probably in the history of what has happened so far in my haunted house, officially happened last night. Officially, 100%. So far, nothing can top this one. So, my fiance and I were laying in bed, going to sleep. Great British Baking Show is obviously playing in the background. Nothing else can relax me more. And he's like, stop taking the covers, stop pulling the covers off me. Mind you, I'm pretty much asleep. I am not moving. I am a log at this point. So I scooch my boot all the way to the other side of the bed, so where we are not touching, there is no way he can tell me that I'm pulling the covers off of him. So he turns the TV off. We are now falling asleep in silence, and out of nowhere, literally nowhere, at the same exact time, we both hear, Mom, Mom. Excuse me, I am not a mother. We both heard it. And it was coming from the bottom, like where your feet are, like that part of the bed. So I'm literally at a loss for words. The only thing I do know is that around the 1920s, 1930s, there was a fire in this home, in my house, that a family was in, and I've read that they did not make it out. So, like, I don't get it.
I was just making my dinner. And then all of a sudden I hear a male voice at the front door call my dog over. My dog gets up and starts barking and runs over to the front door. And then all of a sudden she barks like crazy and then it just stops. I go, Luna, who is it? Oh, it's actually nobody. Nobody's home. Okay. So, yes. I'm actually home alone. I thought my brother came home for a second, and actually 2 seconds ago, my brother just called me and said that he's about to leave the gym soon and come back home. Okay. Who just called my dog?
If you're laying in bed and you actually want to sleep tonight, then you should skip this. For the rest of us who like scaring the shit out of ourselves, welcome. When I was a kid, my best friend asked a Ouija board how old she was going to be when she died. Okay, spoiler, it told her 22. Probably wondering, did she die at 22? I'm going to tell you a story that only 3 people know. Well, 2, because one of them is dead. This story starts about 20 years ago when Christina and I were about 12. We were inseparable and we used to hang out with her older sister all the time. We were at their house a lot. It looked like a normal suburban house on the outside, but I swear you walked in and it was like a portal to the underworld. This house scared the absolute shit out of me. I would hear screams coming from the attic and I would look down this long, dark, creepy hallway, see dark figures like motioning up when I'm trying to sleep at night. To make matters worse, we would sit in her room with the lights dim, pull out the Ouija board and play all the time. But here's the thing, it only ever worked for Christina. It was like she had some weird connection to it. Naturally, her sister and I always thought this was fake and she was just doing it for attention because it would move so fast all over the place, telling us everything. Never worked when we did it alone, so we were a little bit suspicious. Whatever ghost was on the other side of this had diarrhea of the mouth. This was not like you see on the horror movies where it's like, oh, this is slowly moving to yes or no. Like, no, this was like a T9 texting expert ghost that word vomited constantly. So one day we had just finished watching Big Fish, and in that movie there is this creepy old witch, and you can ask her how old you're going to be when you die. Christina loved this idea. Next thing you know, she's pulling out the Ouija board and immediately asking, how old am I going to be when I die? Planchette slowly starts to move towards the numbers and it hovers over the 2. And then it takes a little bit of a movement back and comes right back to the 2. Christina didn't even skip a beat. She grabs her red notebook that she wrote down all of the answers the Ouija board said in it, wrote down, age I'm gonna die, 22. Completely calm. Little did we know, something was set in motion and some weird shit started happening for the next 10 years. About a year after the Ouija board incident, Christina's middle school boyfriend tragically died. He was babysitting his 3-year-old little sister, hanging a rope swing for her in the backyard. The parents got home, found the little girl screaming in the backyard, looking at her brother hanging by the tree. He accidentally got tangled in the rope and hung himself. He had been dead for about 3 hours. While Christina was upset about this, she wasn't hysterical, more so distant. And she said to me, I think I'm gonna see him again soon. I just don't see myself growing old. I can't be that upset about it because something like that might happen to me. For the sake of being able to sleep at night, I wrote off a lot of these things. Christina and I grew apart over the years. A couple of other creepy things happened here and there, but for the most part, I think she had a pretty normal life. She got a job, got a fiance, seemed pretty happy from what I could tell. So now we're about 21 and Christina's wedding is coming up. I didn't go to the wedding, but I saw this footage later. Christina's standing at the altar, all smiles, having just been married, trying to take photos with her family. Softly in the background, you hear a little girl singing the Itsy Bitsy Spider. Christina yells super loudly, Kenna, it's time to take photos. And the camera just slowly pans left. And then you get a great view of this beautiful little flower girl sitting in a pew, holding a Bible upside down, singing the Itsy Bitsy Spider. She shuts the Bible, takes a couple of steps towards the aisle, and slowly walks forward. I shit you not, this 3-year-old looks up at this bride and says, Christina, are you gonna die soon? Freaked out when she heard this, which would be a normal response, but I heard her talk about death so many times as a teenager and just how it didn't faze her that it was a little bit odd to hear her talking about it like this. I really think it's because she was 5 months pregnant. Things had changed for her. About a year after the wedding, Christina was at a cabin with her family in the mountains, having some celebration. Everyone was there, including her newborn son. It seemed like one of those days where nothing could go wrong. Her family always had a 4-wheeler that we would take around the mountains and have a really good time on. At some point in the afternoon, her and a friend decided to take it out for a ride. But that day, something was different. As they rode through the trails, everything seemed all right until Christina screamed. The brakes aren't working. They flew off of a cliff. Both of them were rushed to the hospital. Christina didn't make it. She died on the way there. 22.
You guys want to hear a scary story? It reminds me a lot of Insidious, but it's real. One time when I was babysitting these 2 girls, talked about them in a video before this. We were going to call the older one Luna and the younger one Aura. That's what I called them last time. I was babysitting, and the older one had an imaginary friend that she called Pete. I would always sense weird energy in this house. Disturbing, dark, like not good, friendly Casper the Ghost. And then one time, the oldest Luna at the time was, I want to say she was 3 or 4. And the baby, Aura, was like 6 months old. And I had put Aura down for bed. Put her in her little swaddle, got her all set up. She was snug as a bug, cute, perfect sleeping. And me and Luna were out in the living room. Because I was like, okay, we can play one game together, like before you go to sleep. Because Aura obviously went to bed a little bit earlier. I think we pulled out like Candyland, some board game, which obviously she doesn't know how to play the ins and outs and the rules because she's 3. But when we were playing, she had another little character and it was Pete's, right? And every time, I swear to God, I would look away, I'd look back and it would move and she'd be like, oh, Pete moved it. And I'm like, okay, Luna, like you obviously moved it, you know? Like she's 3 and I know she's just like, you know, she doesn't know how to play the game. Now I know it was literally this dark spirit that was moving it, but stay with me. I'm like, okay, Luna, sure. And then out of nowhere, we're playing and the TV was on in the background. Excuse me. And Luna goes, I love this song. And I'm like listening. I'm like, what song, baby? Like, I don't hear any music. And she said, oh, the song that Pete is singing to me. She said, it's a song that my daddy plays on his guitar because their dad played guitar, I guess. Like, I'd always see the guitar. Sometimes it'd be in the living room or sometimes it'd be in the parents' room. Like, when I'd go in there to grab stuff for the kids. It was just, like, always propped against a wall. And I was like, oh, that's nice. Like, remember what we said about Pete? Because I told her I didn't want her talking to Pete because, again, this felt like a dark energy. And it sucked because every time I was there, I felt like he was sitting in between me and her. Like, he was always, the spirit, Pete, was always hovering. It would never go away. So anyways, I'm like, what song? Blah, blah. And she's like, I'm trying to get her to describe to me again. She's 3. She doesn't really know how to describe it. And she says, no, Pete said he'll play for you. And I said, no, that's okay. Me like, want anything to do with it? She said, no, he'll play for you. Just hold on. So I ignore it and we start playing this game again. Just moving little pieces across the board. And all of a sudden I hear the strum of a guitar. Just a solo strum, like an off chord. And I just get chills down my back because at this time, the guitar was in the parents' room. I only knew that. I hadn't gone in their room that time, but because I heard it and their door was shut. And Luna jumps up. She's like, oh, I told you, Riley. Like, I told you. Pete said he'd show you the song. It's my favorite song. And I'm terrified. Like, I'm trying so hard to act cool. I don't know how this little girl is not so scared. But I'm just like, oh, okay, hold on. Let me just go look real quick because my immediate thought was like maybe somebody's in the house, like a real person, because that sounded way too real. It literally was just a strum of a guitar. So I go into the parents' room, I turn on all the lights, the guitar is just sitting against the wall. Nobody's in the house. I do a sweep, and I'm like really disturbed because every sweep I'm doing, I feel like something is just hovering and following me into every room I'm going into. So I finally sit back down with her. I'm like, okay, babe, let's watch like 10 more minutes of the show, and then like we're gonna go to bed. When I sat on the couch with her, it was the first time I felt like not super heavy, overpowering energy. And I'm like, whew, okay, like, but anyways, I was like, okay, this feels a little less heavy. Sorry, my dog's drinking water in the background. She's so loud. So I'm like, okay, I can breathe a little bit. And I pick up the baby monitor right next to us. You guys know what's coming. You've seen the scary movies because it literally was just like that. Pick up the baby monitor to check on Aura and I literally gag when I think about this because it was so terrifying. I see a hand, right next to the baby. She's sleeping, she's swaddling, and it's a creepy hand where the nails are like this long and it's just this black shadowy hand just right next to her. And again, this is the first time I said I felt relieved, like I wasn't being followed. It's because it went in the other room. I freak out. I literally sprinted, ran, busted into Aura's room, woke her up because I came in the door so hot. She was crying and just felt that energy in that room was disgusting. I pick her up, I bring her back out to the living room. I'm like trying to explain to the parents when they come home, like they're gonna think I'm insane of why their kids are still awake. And I'm sitting on the couch with the baby and with Luna, and I forgot to turn off the baby monitor. And I literally hear just disembodied voices coming from the baby monitor. Terrifying, out of nowhere, loud. And I literally just shut the baby monitor off. And the baby ended up falling back asleep in my arms. Luna ended up falling back asleep, and she like fell asleep on me, like her little head was on my shoulder. When the parents came out, I was like, sorry, they're just like so sweet, and they just want to sleep out here with me. Because I tried again to, like I've explained this in the other video, but I tried to kind of bring it up to them before, how like something I thought was going on in their house paranormal, and they looked at me like I was fucking insane. So I knew I wasn't getting anywhere with that. But that was also one of the terrifying times I experienced babysitting for those kids.
I work in hospice. Spirits are real. I'm sorry. Ghosts are real. I'm gonna be the first one to tell you. One time I'm in this room on my own and I'm cleaning this body to be bagged. I'm the only one in there, right? I'm by the body. The bathroom call light starts going off, like ringing. And I'm like, so I walk in there, press the little button, turn it off. Walk back out there, starts going off again. I walk back in there, turn it off. I walk back out to the body and the call light that's like next to her is buzzing, like it's making a buzzing noise. They don't do that. They don't make that noise. I was like, bitch, the fuck? The time this girl that I work with was holding this patient's hand as they passed. And then when they like closed their eyes, passed, took their last breath, she looks up at the light starts flickering. Like immediately after the patient passed, light starts flickering. It don't do that. It don't work like that. Something was there. Not hospice, but I had this confused patient once, and he did not remember what he said 3 seconds ago. Like, was not talking about the same stuff all day. He was super confused, right? 3 separate times throughout the day, he looks at me and asks me about the lady with long black hair standing behind me and not smiling. What the fuck do you mean, the lady with long black hair standing behind me and not smiling? Spirits are real. I'm sorry.
I did not believe in ghosts until Monday night. My whole life, I'm just naturally skeptic about, like, the good spirits and the bad spirits. Like, I have a hard time believing in anything, you know? My husband believes in everything. So, you know, he's claimed to have spirits visit him throughout his life, you know, and things like that. But I have just always been like, okay, yeah, I believe that you believe you saw that. But then, like, you know, I don't know. I have a hard time with that. Monday night, though, I was laying in bed. My bed faces the door, which was open, and then there's the hallway, which is just a wall. Okay, so my husband was playing video games, and sometimes he comes up and checks on me, and then he goes back down. So I see a shadow of what I had no reason other than to believe that was him come check on me and leave. So I called him and I was like, hey, can you come back upstairs? I want to talk to you for a second. And then he was like, oh, no, I'm in the basement. What do you mean? I was never upstairs. And I was like, oh, okay. Someone's in the house. Come upstairs. Grab your weapon and come upstairs. So he runs upstairs with his weapon. We're looking around the house. This is all happening very quickly. There's nowhere that anyone could have gone in that amount of time or we wouldn't have found them. So, I mean, at this point, I'm not thinking anything paranormal still. I'm just thinking like someone's in my house. So I'm checking on my babies. I looked everywhere in my kids' rooms. My daughter was asleep on my floor because she wasn't feeling good. So I looked in my room. Everything was good. There was no one there. No windows were open. No doors were unlocked. So we go downstairs. We kind of start talking about it. He's already convinced himself that it's paranormal. So he's called his family members that have also seen paranormal things in their lifetime. And he's talked to them. And we go upstairs and we see like where the light was, and I'm like, okay, something else had to have happened. Like something else could have cast that shadow. Like maybe there was a bug fly in front of the light or something. Like let's just mess around with the light, see what could have caused a shadow. The only way that I found that could have cast a shadow the way that it would have had to have been a very, very tall person to cast from where I saw on the wall all the way down. And it would have had to have been standing in the nursery doorway. So I think that's weird, but I'm still, I'm not going to that place. Like, it just, okay, I kind of am now, I guess. I should be honest. I kind of am thinking about it, but not like I'm still in denial. So I'm looking around. We don't see anything. I don't have, like, a bad feeling or anything. I feel pretty neutral. People say like that you can feel evil energy. I don't know, but I didn't feel anything. So, I was downstairs, kind of just like looking around, and then my husband went into the nursery, starts yelling, "Get the babies!" So he picks up what happened was he saw the spirit that he had seen throughout his childhood standing above our daughter in her crib. And so we were out of that house in 20 seconds in the car on the way to my mom's house. Like that's just, we were gone. We were not risking anything. I'm a skeptic, but I'm not stupid. I'm getting out of there. So then we have animals. So we had to go back in the morning to go feed our animals. He went with my dad. My dad went to go, check things out. I stayed at my mom's house with my babies. They came back. They were like, nothing's weird. We didn't feel anything. All good. So now I'm not worried. We went back at night to feed the animals dinner. We're like, okay, we're going to stay at the house one more time just because, we're still like a little freaked out of what it could have been because I know what I saw. I know that someone was there. Like, I don't know. I know that I saw something. So I'm still a little freaked out. So I go over there with my husband to feed the dog, but I'm not even worried. So I open the door, not even scared. And every cabinet and every drawer in my kitchen was wide open. My husband didn't leave it that way. My dad said that they were all closed when they left. And then I went into each of my rooms, each of my kids' rooms and my room, and all the drawers were wide open. I went into my bathroom, wide open. My cabinets were wide open. So I was freaked out. I was out of there. We called my parents. They came. All four of us were walking through the house, trying to see if something was taken, trying to see if someone had broken into my house. There was nothing taken. There were no entrances of the home that were left unlocked or weirdly opened or anything. Any of the valuable stuff in my house was still there. So it didn't look like someone had broken in, but I don't know. So I am feeling weird about it. I do feel, I don't know, I sound crazy being there's a ghost in my house, but I don't know. I don't know, like I'm freaked out now. So now what I'm going to do about it is I'm going to go and I'm going to salt the outside of my house. I'm going to go give it a good sage. I'm going to get a religious leader to come bless the home, kind of say a prayer over everything, and we'll see what happens. I'll keep you guys updated. But now I have like my cameras working, and because my cameras were there, but they weren't like, I have like a blink camera, and so my notifications and like movement was off. So now I have it on, and it'll notify me if there's any movement or activity. I don't know. I feel stupid saying this, but I'm scared. I don't know how to like explain some of that. But yeah, keep you guys updated.